It's just gone 2031. You're listening to Africa World Hour here on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So we continue with some of our top stories. We continue with the theme of human rights. Now we speak about organization Amnesty International. It has accused the government of Nigeria of allowing a free-for-all, as it calls it, for a reign of impunity in which state and non-state parties have committed serious human rights violations and killed over 1,800 people, it says, in a report titled A Decade of Impunity, Attacks and Unlawful Killings in Southeast Nigeria. Amnesty International documents atrocities at the hands of rampaging gunmen, state-backed paramilitary outfits, vigilantes, criminal gangs, and cults in Southeast region. The organization's director in Nigeria, Isa Sanusi, joins us now from Nigeria. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you for having me this evening.
These are really grave accusations that you make. So can you just give us a sense of the methodology that you use to make this determination that the government has not only allowed it, but, as you say, seems to have supported it through government, military, paramilitary?
Well, thank you so much. So I have to start from the beginning. And the beginning is that Amnesty International has been documenting the situation in the southeastern part of Nigeria since August 2015. And in 2016, we issued a damning report about extrajudicial executions, disappearances, unlawful arrests and detentions in this region. And the report we launched is a continuation of our work on that region. We have many methods of gathering our information and doing our research, but the most important one is talking directly to the people affected, the victims and their families. We also talk with medical doctors, sometimes security agents themselves, and we also talk with community leaders. So in the course of doing this research, we interviewed 100 people, and out of that 100, we interviewed 95 of them face-to-face. Only 5 were remote interviews, and we visited the region widely, all of the 5 states in the southeastern region, where we talked with all the stakeholders. We visited mortuaries, we visited police stations, we visited all the community centers around. And that is how we arrived at this conclusion. And we shared our findings with the Nigerian government so that they can be able to tell us exactly what they were doing to stop this impunity and violence. But they have not responded to us up to the time we launched the report.
Are you able to tell us which states have borne the brunt of these attacks?
Well, as you know, southeastern Nigeria consists of 5 states. We have Abia State, we have Anambra State, and we have Ebonyi State, we have Enugu State, and we have Imo State. The most affected of all are Anambra and Imo. But all states, the 5 states, have their own share of the violence. But the violence is more prominent and more affected in Imo, particularly, is the number one, then Anambra State, and then all the other states like Ebonyi State also has its own share. So almost the whole region of Nigeria, that region of Nigeria, the southeast, is affected. But these 2 states, that is Imo and Anambra, are more prominently affected in so many ways.
You, as Amnesty, reported an attack, I think, in the month of June in Yellow-Wata. And before that, there was something in Benue in Nigeria's Middle Belt. Is there a trend? Are there similarities, not only in terms of the protagonists, but the nature of the attacks and what has sparked them in these states as well?
Well, what we have observed over the last 15 to 12 years is escalating attack. We have gunmen on rampage across Nigeria, and the most affected are the rural areas. The most unfortunate side is that the Nigerian government has failed and again failed to stop these killings. And unfortunately, also, they failed to hold those responsible to account. Most times they announce that, suspects were arrested, but that was always the last you will hear about it. After they announce the arrest, nothing more. So victims end up without seeing justice being done, and then you will hear about another attack again. Even today, in the early hours of today, there was an attack in northern Nigeria in a mosque where 13 worshippers were killed in the early hours of today. So gradually in Nigeria, we are having a situation whereby this killing, this bloodshed, is becoming normal, is becoming something that we have to do every day. People bury their dead and then move on until the next attack. Then they bury the dead and then they do it again and again. And this is unacceptable. And that's why we have been doing this research and saying that the Nigerian government has the responsibility, international obligation, according to international law and the Nigerian constitutional laws, to protect lives and make sure that those who kill others are brought to justice through fair trial. And unfortunately, this is what Nigerian government is failing to do, and we are still calling on them to do the right thing, because squarely the responsibility of protecting lives and property lie on the shoulders and the hands of the Nigerian government.
And this was the question that I wanted to ask you next, given the fact that this is a rights-based issue. Are we saying the Nigerian government has failed as a state to protect the rights of its citizens? And is it just only in the southeast? Because, as you mentioned, the rise of militia groupings who have resorted to kidnappings, killings, extortion-based activities has arisen exponentially over the years.
Well, these things are not only restricted to the Southeast. The Southeast situation is unique in the sense that it is one of the most peaceful parts of Nigeria. Unfortunately, that region has now been plunged into endless bloodshed. But every part of Nigeria has its own share of this kind of conflict. We have killings in the Northwest, we have killings in the Northeast, we have killings in the South sometimes. The only region that is not much affected or not affected is the Southwest. But these pockets of violence have become everyday part of normal life across Nigeria. And there are so many factors behind this. And one of them we always believe as Amnesty International is the fact that the Nigerian authorities have failed, and they failed many, many times, to make sure that they send a very strong message to these killers that when they do it, they will face justice. They will face the weight of law. Unfortunately, they could not do that. And we believe that is why we see the proliferation of this kind of killings. And this is quite unacceptable. A situation whereby every day there are burials, mass burials sometimes in parts of Nigeria. This is apart from abductions for ransom and many other crimes. Is unacceptable. It's not normal. And we have to restore security to our country so that people will go about their lives normally. We have a large part of Nigerians who live in the rural areas, and they are the most affected. And in Nigeria, the rural areas are the ones producing the food we consume. All the agricultural produce in Nigeria are produced in the rural areas. And these conflicts, these attacks, these killings are gradually eliminating these farming communities. And this is going to have a very serious implication on food security. And we know how important food security is to general security of people and lives.
So let's talk about the government's role, their sponsorship of paramilitary forces, as you've mentioned, because I'm more interested in the accountability aspect of it. Has government been directly linked, and has evidence of this been proven, shared, aired out? And what are Nigerians saying about it?
You know, in Nigeria, vigilante, that is paramilitary organizations, are a new phenomenon. When the security began to get out of hand, insecurity is now shouldered by the people and state governments. Because of the federal nature of Nigeria, state governments started establishing these paramilitary organizations. But when you talk to Nigerians, they tell you sometimes that, well, we need these paramilitary outfits because the security agencies, that is the police, are not adequate enough to protect people. Unfortunately, these paramilitary organizations, many Nigerians will tell you they commit serious human rights abuses, serious violations, killings, extrajudicial executions, unlawful arrest, and many other inhuman treatment. And even today, there was a news which shook the whole country, showing a vigilante group in southeast Nigeria, ironically, where some vigilante violated some women and stripped them naked and beat them. And the video has gone viral, and it is already generating more discussion about the atrocities by these paramilitary outfits that are set up to complement the formal security outfits. We believe that they are doing more damage than good to the society because they are carrying out their activities without regard, with utter disregard for the rule of law and human rights. And that is quite unacceptable. And we have also said in this report that the government of Nigeria has to review their activities and make sure that whatever they are going to do, they are doing it in compliance with human rights, in compliance with Nigerian laws, and in compliance with due process of law, and in compliance with international law regarding human rights.
So then, what then is the role of international law in this case on calling on the Nigerian government to play its role, that of protection of its citizens? And I also want to talk about ECOWAS, for instance, member states in West Africa calling out Nigeria for these transgressions.
Well, unfortunately, Nigeria has a very powerful position in ECOWAS and other regional groups like AU, the African Union. Unfortunately, as you know, and as I know, African Union is not living up to the expectation when it comes to handling issues within Africa. If you look at what is happening in DRC, the conflict between M23 and Rwanda and others, it was so unfortunate that the world was watching. The Qatar has to intervene. It was Qatar that brought the leaders of Rwanda and DRC together in order to bring peace. And this is an indictment on the AU, indictment on all the regional and even SADC and all the regional bodies we have, because they were set up to make sure that this kind of conflicts and this kind of failures of human rights are addressed internally with African approach, in African way, and within Africa. Unfortunately, we don't see that happening. And this is really a serious matter that the whole of the continent should be talking about. We should be able to protect ourselves. We should be able to hold each other to account and make sure that we have a mechanism based on these international groupings or regional groupings like ECOWAS and SADC and others, so that we can be able to make sure that our people live in peace and dignity, and we can be able to say that, yes, we are free, sovereign, and independent, and we are capable enough of handling our own problems internally.
Isa Sanusi, thank you very much for speaking to us, and we certainly will join you in that role as watchdogs. Isa Sanusi is Amnesty International Director in Nigeria.
1 hour, one continent, one voice. Africa World Hour with Tsepiso Makwetla on Channel Africa, the African perspective.